Imagine sitting in a room full of people watching a game. The crowd is tense. Someone is pacing. Another person is yelling at the television like the players can actually hear them. A goal happens, and the entire room explodes. People are jumping, screaming, hugging each other like they just won something personally. And then there's you. You're sitting there thinking one simple question. How are people this emotionally invested in a game played by strangers? If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. Millions of people around the world genuinely don't care about sports. Not a little. Not casually. They simply feel nothing when the game starts. And for a long time, society quietly treated that as strange. Like something must be missing. But psychology tells a much more interesting story. Because the people who don't obsess over sports aren't necessarily less passionate. Their brains are simply wired to seek meaning somewhere else. To understand this, let's first talk about why sports are so powerful for many people. Humans evolved in tribes. For thousands of years, survival depended on belonging to a group. Your tribe hunted together, fought together, protected each other. Being part of a group wasn't just social, it was life or death, and sports tap directly into that ancient wiring. When someone supports a team, their brain doesn't treat it like entertainment. It treats it like identity. My team, my city, my people. When the team wins, the brain releases dopamine and oxytocin, chemicals associated with reward and bonding. It feels like the tribe succeeded. And when the team loses, the brain experiences a genuine emotional drop. That's why people say, "We won," even though they never stepped on the field. But here's where things get interesting. People who don't obsess over sports often experience identity differently. They're less likely to tie their sense of self to large collective groups. Instead of asking, "Which team represents me?" their brain asks a different question. What actually matters to my life? And because of that, their emotional energy flows in completely different directions. Let's imagine two friends watching the same Sunday afternoon. One is glued to the television, tracking every play. The other is sitting next to them reading a book. To the sports fan, the game is filled with meaning. There's tension, drama, victory, defeat. But to the non-sports person, it feels like watching something that doesn't affect their real life. Not boring exactly, just distant. And this difference often comes down to how people process reward. Sports are built on a psychological principle called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same mechanism used in gambling. You never know when the big moment will happen. A last-minute goal, a dramatic comeback, an impossible play. Because the outcome is unpredictable, the brain stays hooked. Every second carries potential reward. But some people simply don't respond strongly to that type of stimulation. Their dopamine system doesn't light up for spectator competition. Instead, it activates for completely different experiences. Ideas, creativity, personal achievements, relationships. For them, watching someone else compete doesn't produce the same emotional spark. They want to participate in something meaningful themselves. You'll often notice this in how they spend their time. While millions of people are emotionally invested in championships, these individuals might be absorbed in something else entirely. Writing, building something, learning a new skill, exploring music, art, or science. To outsiders, this can look like indifference, but psychologically, it's simply a different form of engagement with the world. And there's another factor that often plays a role. Empathy direction. Everyone has a limited amount of emotional attention. You can't deeply care about everything at the same time. Sports fans often direct a portion of their empathy toward teams and athletes. They feel the stress of the game, the joy of a victory, the heartbreak of a loss. But people who don't obsess over sports tend to direct that empathy somewhere else. Toward close relationships, toward creative projects, toward social causes, toward intellectual challenges. It's not that they lack passion, Their passion is simply pointed in a different direction. There's also a social element that shapes how people relate to sports. For many people, sports are a cultural language, a way to bond. Office conversations, family traditions, weekend gatherings. Watching the game together creates shared emotional experiences. So someone who doesn't follow sports may sometimes feel like they're missing part of that social script. They might sit in a room where everyone is discussing scores, players, and statistics, and have nothing to add. But interestingly, research suggests these individuals often form connections in other ways. Instead of bonding over teams, they bond over ideas. Shared humor, deep conversations, creative collaboration, different social glue. There's also a subtle psychological trait that appears frequently in people who aren't drawn to sports. Lower tribal thinking. Sports naturally divide the world into us versus them. Our team, our victory, their loss. For many fans, that rivalry is part of the excitement. But some personalities are less comfortable with that mindset. They don't enjoy picking sides simply for the sake of belonging. Their identity feels more individual than collective. So emotionally investing in a team rivalry doesn't feel natural. And here's something even more interesting. People who don't obsess over sports often experience meaning through personal narratives rather than spectator ones. In other words, they want to be the main character in their own story, not the audience for someone else's. When they chase excitement, they want it to come from their own actions. Learning something difficult, creating something original, exploring something unknown. Their emotional reward comes from participation, not observation. Now, none of this means one mindset is better than the other. Sports fandom creates powerful community and shared experiences. For many people, it's one of the few places where strangers instantly feel connected. But the people who don't care about sports reveal something fascinating about human psychology. Meaning isn't universal. Different minds search for significance in different places. Some people find it in competition, others find it in creativity. Some find it in belonging to a tribe, others find it in exploring their individuality. And maybe that's the real lesson here. If you've ever felt strange for not caring about the game everyone else is watching, it doesn't mean you're missing something. It simply means your mind is playing a different game. One where the scoreboard looks completely different, and the stakes might actually be higher.